Hey folks, my name is Mo Amir and this is VANCOLOUR, British Columbia's bona fide culture and politics TV talk show. Tonight, 2 weeks into January, how are those New Year's resolutions coming along? For most of us, we go from New Year, New Me to New Year, Same Me within a few weeks. So we're going to talk about why we're so bad at sticking to our New Year's resolutions and what we can do to set ourselves up for success in 2023. But first, let's forecast the big issues facing British Columbians this year. Are we still talking about COVID? Have we gone from talking about the cost of housing to the cost of, well, everything? Helping us explain it all is pollster extraordinaire, the president of Research Co. He is Mario Canseco. Mario, so nice to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Great to be here with you, Mo.
So you're in the business of tracking what people care about over a long enough timeline. When we go from 2022 to 2023, what are the big issues that British Columbians really are concerned about or care about or are watching?
Well, we can certainly look into this as a generational issue. If you're 18 to 34, your number one issue continues to be housing. Mm-hmm. How do I get into the market? How can I lower my rent? How can I pay a mortgage? If you're a Generation Xer, 35 to 54, it's money, the economy. How can I save some money? I am now taking care of many people. I need to do something different, and I know everything is more expensive. But we know that the group that wins elections is the over 55s. They vote more, they care more, they complain more. And right now, the number one issue for them is healthcare. And that has been the biggest change over the past 3-4 years. These are numbers that we are used to seeing only in Quebec. But now in BC, the over 55 crowd is saying, thank you for your work during the COVID-19 pandemic. We appreciate it. Now it's time to get the system back to where it has to go. And this is the reason why we're seeing so many announcements related to foreign doctors, foreign nurses. Everybody wants to see the system working well. And this is the ticket for the NDP to win again.
So healthcare will be the big issue. Are we still concerned about COVID-19 and the pandemic? Because we know that in BC in 2022, we experienced the most COVID-related deaths than 2021 or 2020, and we have the vaccine now already. So shouldn't this still be an issue amongst British Columbians?
It's really dried up in a way, particularly because you have two groups that are consistently complaining about different things. You have, and especially this becomes quite complex in social media.
Right.
We should be doing more. Essentially looking into COVID zero situations. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go out, bring back the mask mandate. You have a lot of people who want to do things very differently. And you continue to have the others who believe that it was all a hoax, that nothing actually happened, that this isn't really fair, that we did too much in one sense. But the numbers are not as big as they are in other provinces. You look at Alberta, you look at Ontario, you're bound to have a larger conversation. What we have here is two very small groups complaining about things but being very vocal. Most people are vaccinated, have dealt with the virus. Many of us have also had it. Mm-hmm. So now you're looking at it more from the standpoint of as long as I take care of myself, I'll be all right. Right. But you still have all of those complaints, particularly on social media, related to they didn't do enough or they did too little.
Right. Now, going back to the cost of living, cost of housing dichotomy, I find that British Columbians and Vancouverites in particular are very interesting because we talk about the cost of housing all the time, whether it is the cost of rent or the ability to purchase a home. However, I'm starting to see those conversations are morphing into just everything being expensive, from gas to groceries to whatever else. So has that conversation of cost of living eclipsed the cost of housing for now, at least?
It's now a situation where everybody's experiencing it differently. There's one thing when you're dealing with housing and you can't get into the market and you're dissatisfied, but now you're paying more for other things. Now you're looking at your grocery bill, you're looking at your gas bill, you're looking at other expenditures that are rising. And you're starting to wonder who is going to help me out with this. So this is one of the major challenges for the government because it's no longer about promising something 5 or 6 years down the road. We'll have 10,000 housing starts. We'll have this many doctors who are coming in. We'll have 100 policemen, whatever it is if you want to talk about crime. Mm-hmm. This is more about how can you lower all of this cost for me because I'm really struggling here. And I don't see a way out, particularly when you have some of those expenditures that you cannot change. So this is why we're now focusing more on this, particularly because now Generation X is part of the mix.
Right.
It used to be baby boomers complaining and saying to their millennial children, just save money like we did back in the 70s. And the millennials saying to their grandparents, well, listen, this isn't as easy as it used to be. And Generation X was just coasting by. It's okay. We don't need to be part of this conversation.
Yeah.
Now we have aging parents, we have young children, and we need to figure out a way to be able to live in this place. So now it's more of the three generations, but the actual cost of life, Generation X is the one that is complaining the most.
You seem to be projecting a lot of doom and gloom when it comes to our collective mood here in BC. Is that fair? Are you getting the sense that British Columbians are anxious, pessimistic? Because in my own circles, I'm starting to see that. But what are you seeing in terms of polling data?
I think it has a lot to do with the way you feel about your political leaders. And part of the reason why we did so well in the pandemic, as far as our actual state of mind, is that John Horgan connected very well with people emotionally.
Right.
People saw John Horgan and thought, well, he's doing well. He's not the angry man that the BC Liberal advisors told us he was back in 2017. We remember that hashtag Hulk Horgan. Not the finest hour for some of those individuals as far as essentially trying to connect with voters.
Sure.
And, a lot of people saw Horgan and thought, well, this is okay. We have somebody who's managing things. David Eby needs to establish that emotional connection. And it takes time. It's not something that you can do within 3 weeks and 4 announcements. Mm-hmm. So part of the reason is there's this uncertainty about where we go from here because people don't know who David Eby is, at least many of them.
What about on a federal level?
Well, that's the other issue, right? Justin Trudeau's still there. He's still traveling. He's now probably the elder statesman in the G7, which seems unfathomable when you go back 5 or 6 years. But, Boris Johnson's gone. Trump is gone. Now he's the one who is essentially the one who's been there the longest. Angela Merkel's gone. Japan changes prime ministers fairly quickly. Italy does it almost every 3 days. So you have that situation where he's now the leader.
Really quickly, the main thing here then is in these anxious, uncertain times, do people, and British Columbians in particular, look towards stability, the face we know, or are they looking for change right away?
It's a stability issue more than anything. And I think that was one of the major secrets of the NDP in order to connect so well and win that election back in 2020. Things are going well. We see a lot of other jurisdictions essentially not being able to control this pandemic. And we're doing fine. Everybody's pulling together. They appeal to the best of us. And they had a rival in Andrew Wilkinson who couldn't really connect very well.
Right.
So that plays a role. Now, the situation is different. Kevin Falcon is not going to be like Andrew Wilkinson. So that's a very different type of scenario when somebody out there is saying, I can do things better than you.
Absolutely.
And it's a similar situation for Justin Trudeau. Pierre Poilievre can come out there and say, you've had a good run, but this is where I want to take this country. And if young people connect with that type of philosophy, it could be dangerous for the Liberals.
Fascinating. Mario, I love chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
My pleasure. Anytime.
Absolutely. Folks, that was the president of Research Co., pollster extraordinaire, Mario Canseco. Now, we're going to record a little overtime with Mario to talk about BC politics and how BC's new Premier David Eby, is doing in the polls to start 2023.
There's more people who approve of what he's doing than who disapprove of it. So
that's good.
That's essentially where you want to be. And there's no significant level of animosity. It's not as if the BC Liberal voter is looking at the BC NDP Premier and saying, we're very disappointed with this, we don't want this, he's a card-carrying communist. Like, those days are gone. It's not going to be like that because of the way in which the NDP is trying to connect with voters.
So find This is VANCOLOUR wherever you listen to your podcast for that chat. Now stick around because after some business, we're going to talk about New Year's resolutions. Odds are you're about to give up on yours right about now. But we'll have some tips for you to truly achieve your goals in 2023. That's up next. I'm Mo Amir. This is VANCOLOUR.